Our story begins with a crying child. And my goodness, what a beautiful child. Our children are good kids, angelic, unlike any other children in the world. But not just anyone can be a parent. Suddenly, a crazed man in a suit, looking like a mobster, appears and says that from today, he will be the father of that child. As the boy gets into the car, it said, I received a special education. But what is this special education I'm talking about? Well, when I say it was very special, it was really special. Then, the timid and friendly nun and the crying children completely change their demeanor. The nun then says, okay, all of you, that's enough. It's time to train. And at that moment, all the children start pulling out knives, daggers, and other weapons. The nun then tells the little girl, Ellie, when you pretend to cry, there's no need to let your nose run like that. Parents can hate children who seem slow and gross. The little girl, with a very serious expression, says she understands and will keep that in mind next time. From a window, a man was watching all of this and says, this type of education is a gift for them. These children have been trained as weapons from the moment they started walking, and they are being carefully raised under special disciplines. And at that moment, my friends, a muscular woman appears, looking like a double-door refrigerator. Look at the size of her. The man then says it is extremely expensive to take care of children and explains what these children are used for. The man says, these children are like computers, and the way they are used is determined by the buyers. Actually, their buyers are their parents. The man who just adopted the boy says, this is the goal. Memorize this face well. And he shows a photo to the boy. Then it is said, however, because they are dangerous, security measures have been taken. Certain rules that have been imprinted on these young ones that they absolutely cannot disobey. And this has been named the 3 absolute principles. These 3 principles are designed to ensure that the buyer can control the children, and it is crucial that you remember them. The scene then cuts back to the boy, and the boy says, Dad, there's a car following us. The man says, what? What did you say? Boy, shut your mouth and memorize this face now. And the boy, scared, says, yes, order received, Dad. The first rule was that the parents' words are absolute. However, in the next scene, we see that the boy was actually right. There really was a car following them. The car then crashes into the car the boy's father was in, causing their car to flip over in the middle of the street. The second rule was stated. They cannot use their power without their parents' permission. The boy then sees his father's body all bloody after the accident. He grabs his father's arm and checks his pulse to see if he is still alive. Outside, other guys were already ready to shoot the boy with rifles. From under the overturned car, the boy comes out bloody and crying, asking for help to save his father, as the father was not breathing at all. The men then say, damn it, nobody said there was a child with him. Should we just get rid of him? The other says, what's your point, man? He's just a kid. Anyway, we should leave this boy somewhere and get out. Then the last and most important principle is explained. If the parent's safety is threatened, the children will ignore the first 2 rules and resolve the situation. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. When the guy approached to help the boy, he ended up grabbing a shard of glass from the car and stabbing the man in the throat. It was so quick that the guy had no reaction. The boy then ends up stealing the man's gun. The man's friend didn't quite understand what was happening, as his colleague's body was blocking the boy and he didn't see that the man had his throat cut. From under the body, the boy shoots the other man, hitting him right in the head. That man, who seemed like some kind of priest, says, these children aren't so good, are they? But what do you think of this? Would you like to buy any of them? And look, that priest is in rags. Look at the guy's teeth, all jeweled. Surely this priest listens to some heavy trap music. Right after that, the priest takes out a poster with several children on it and says, well, this child is unfortunately not available. You could say that this child is our only defective one. His skills were the highest among our children, a true elite. And I personally liked him a lot too, but unfortunately, we lost him, or should I say, he disappeared. It was that boy we saw in the car. The man then says they tried to track him down, but that boy without his father cannot use his power, so he doesn't attract attention, which made the man very angry. He says, well, now he could be living like an ordinary child somewhere, and we may never find him again, or he might simply already be dead. The scene changes, and we see a boy punching another in the stomach. The boy who was punching says, that last punch was a direct hit. Wait, what did you say, Hyunho? The scared boy responds, dude, I didn't say anything. Actually, I said 15. That punch now seems worth 15 points. The boys start talking. Wow, 15 points. Seems pretty generous. Another boy says, yeah, Joseph's punch would definitely be worth 15 points. The boy who was being beaten thinks that those bastards were idiots. The guy who punched says, all right, but how many points would a kick be worth? A blonde boy says it's his turn, saying he wants to try it once too. He punches the boy and asks how many points it would be worth, claiming he was sure he'd score 52 points. The boy being beaten says, no, you're "You're wrong." The blonde boy turns to his friend and says, "The damage meter is malfunctioning for sure." Then, the first guy who punched says, "Sion, what are you doing now?" and slaps the blonde boy's face, saying, "Don't act so arrogantly. I was already beating him up, wasn't I?" The blonde boy angrily says, "Joseph, you bastard," but quickly changes his expression and says, "That slap was really good. I think it's worth 150,000 points. As expected from someone who studied abroad, your physique is completely different from ours. Joseph, how much can you bench?" 500 kilograms, or as they say in the United States, in pounds. Joseph responds, "Man, you're an idiot. Go buy some cigarettes later, Sion." And Sion replies, "Oh, sure, no problem. You want a Marlboro, right?" As the guys walk away, Sion says that Joseph was a bastard and that he would definitely face him next time, but that he seemed really cool when he talked with that American accent. The boy who was being beaten says, "Man, is this serious? I really think I can easily beat him in a fight." Sion says, "Hey, Hyunho, don't you think 52 points was too much?" The boy can only think that Sion was an annoying bastard. Sion then says, "Well, you're coming with me now. You're dead today, understand that." The scene then changes, and Sion is eating. Sion says, "You were buying all the snacks for me here, and I'm out of money after doing all those tasks for Joseph." Hyunho says, "All right, no problem." Sion says, "Don't tell me you think this is a waste of money. Joseph is fine, but I'm not." Hyunho replies, "No, it's not that. Actually, it's just this place." Sion then says, "Oh, I get it. This shop has the same name as your mother, right? Isn't that fascinating?" And Hyunho responds, "This is my mother's shop." His mother then appears and says, "Oh, you're Hyunho's friend. Eat all you want. Try some of these fish cakes too." Sion then says, "Your mother owns this place? Ah, so that's why it has your name." He says, "This is my mother's shop." And Hyunho thinks, "I managed to hide that this shop was my mother's from everyone, and I really can't believe I got caught by someone like this bastard." Sion, with a malicious smile, says, "Oh, is that so? I can't act like a stranger then." Hyunho gets very irritated, thinking about what Sion is planning to do with his mother. He had already grabbed a pen to defend himself in a John Wick vibe, and thinks, "Damn, if this bastard messes with my mother and crosses the line, I won't hesitate to kill him." Sion then says, "Auntie," and Hyunho was ready to kill him, but Sion bows and says, "I apologize for not greeting you earlier. I am Hyunho's friend, and my name is Park Sion." He says, "No wonder, since the name of the shop seems quite unique." Hyunho's mother then responds, "Really? My son always told me not to make it too obvious." Sion says, "Hyunho, isn't this great for you? Your mother works so hard for you." Hyunho thinks he can't predict what that boy will do if they stay there, and says, "Mom, I need to go now. My friends are waiting." She says, "Really? Then wait a bit." Sion, "How long have your friends been waiting, and how many are there? I packed some snacks here for you all to share." Hyunho becomes very desperate with that situation and says, "Mom, you definitely don't need to do this. Seriously." Sion then says, "Are you giving this to us for free?" And she replies, "Of course. I don't need to sell anymore today." Sion continues, "Wow, are you sure you want to give all this to us?" And she says, "It's already decided. You can take it." Hyunho was very sad seeing that scene and says, "Mom, no, please, no." And she replies, "Hyunho's friends are like my children too." Hyunho can only think, "No, Mom, they're not. They really aren't what you think they are." Sion then turns with a malicious smile and thinks, "Relax. It's all good. I'm going to enjoy this food a lot." Hyunho then grabs Sion's hand and says, "Dude, don't tell Joseph or any of the others. Please do me this favor." Sion just turns and says, Sure, I'll take care of you. Well, now I'm off, Auntie." And Hyunho's mother responds, "All right, next time bring your friends too." He says, "You can bet I'll bring my friends next time." As Sion leaves, Hyunho says, "Mom, seriously, why are you doing this?" And he could only think about how stupid he was. He then starts shouting, "I told you not to act like you know me. I told you, didn't I? So why are you doing this?" He could only think, why am I yelling at my mom? His mother, then very sad with the whole situation and with a heavy heart, says, "Well, I'm just very happy to see you with a friend for the first time. I'm sorry, I really am." Hyunho could only think, why is she apologizing to me? And she continues, "I just want you to get along with your friends. I'm really sorry. Please don't be mad at me." Hyunho could only think, please, Mom, don't apologize. If you keep doing this, I don't know if I can control myself. The scene changes, and the boys are mocking the teabag from Hyunho's mother's shop. They say, "Man, what is this stuff made of?" Joseph then says, "Hyunho, your mom sells teabag, right? I bought some, but what is this? Is this ham? And why is it in teabag? Man, gross. I really can't eat this." He rubs the dirty cloth on Hyunho's face and says, "Should I ask for a refund, or should I go to your mom and tell her I'm your friend?" Hyunho could only think about how much he begged Sion not to do this. Hyunho then says, "Friend, you and I are friends." Joseph responds, "Man, you're really going crazy, aren't you? We've always been friends, and we should get along. Actually, sorry, that was just a joke. Man, I really can't stand this. I have to tell everything to your mom. And he throws the tebak at Hyunho's head. Hyunho already had his pen ready for the kill. He then, with absurd speed, heads towards Joseph's neck, thinking about his mother's words saying she just wanted him to get along with his friends and that she was really sorry and not to be mad. When he gets very close to Joseph's neck, he rethinks everything and stops. Joseph then gets very angry and asks, "What were you trying to do with that?" Sion then arrives and says, "Hey, Hyunho, what are you doing?" Everyone was very tense. Even the police were in the room, and the window was completely broken and covered in blood. There was a lot of blood on the floor and broken glasses. It's said that day Hyunho was beaten continuously for about 15 long minutes. He fainted several times and regained consciousness due to the extreme pain he was feeling. Each time this happened, he apologized, but the violence didn't stop. Absolutely no one intervened. In the end, it was Hyunho himself who put an end to the violence by looking at the window, ready to jump. The scene changes, and we see Joseph saying, "Well, I had a good idea about Hyunho. Let's say you pushed him while playing. You understand what I'm saying, right?" The boys respond, "But we didn't do anything." Joseph says, "Don't be like that. I asked my dad, and apparently, there's a good law in Korea called the Juvenile Act. I've already been held back for a year, so it doesn't apply to me. That's why I'm asking you to help me a little. I'm telling you to turn him in. Say you pushed Hyunho. Am I clear with you, or don't you understand?" One of the boys says, "Well, I knew about the act too, but I heard we can be sued for damages, right?" Joseph responds, "Relax. Don't worry about that. There's a way around that too. Being wanted? Well, that hasn't happened yet. As long as there's no one to file the lawsuit, there's no problem, right? Let's see. Guys, even if you're caught, you're protected by the juvenile law, right? And well, I'm not asking for help for free." Joseph then opens a briefcase full of money and says, 10 million for each of you. So, deal? But now I have a question. Does anyone know where Hyunho lives? Showing Hyunho's house. His mother was completely depressed, crying on the floor. It was shown that Joseph and the others were already at Hyunho's building. Joseph says, "Aha, which floor is it again?" And the boy responds, "5th floor." The guy then asks, "Why doesn't the elevator go to the 5th floor?" Joseph responds, "Forget it. Let's take the stairs." Everyone was armed. Joseph says, "You better hurry up. We're almost there." They start climbing the stairs and notice a fire extinguisher by the elevator door. Joseph says, "What the hell is this crap? And why is there a fire extinguisher right there?" On the stairs next to them, there was a hooded boy. He says, "Why are you so late? You kept me waiting for too long." Joseph asks what Park Sion is doing there, and another guy responds, "Great timing. Perfect. You're coming with us too." Sion stands up and says, "I'll ask you two things. Be brief. How did you find out about Hyunho's snack shop?" "That was my secret spot." Joseph replies, "Oh, that I got curious because you didn't bring the cigarettes and were eating with the neighborhood kids." Sion says, "All right. And what do you know?" Joseph says, "Our dear Hyunho was arguing with his mother in front of the shop." Sion stands up and says, "Well, that all happened because of me. So, here's the second question. What are you doing here?" Joseph responds, "Isn't it clear? We're here to see Hyunho's mother, who's currently sleeping peacefully after filing a lawsuit against us. And you showed up at the perfect time, since I was annoyed with you. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that you were pretending to intimidate him, but were actually helping that bastard Hyunho? I knew all along, and you must think I'm an idiot, right, you bastard?" Sion grabs the fire extinguisher and says, "All right, that's enough for me. Thanks for confirming everything." Without thinking twice, Joseph lunges at Sion. Sion releases the fire extinguisher and says, "I expected this, but I needed to be sure." He then sprays the extinguisher powder on all of them on the stairs. Joseph orders his goon to get Sion, but Sion hits the goon in the face with the extinguisher. The goon's body falls on top of Joseph, who also falls to the ground. Annoyed, Joseph orders all his goons to attack Sion, but the smoke was obstructing their vision, and Sion was able to beat up the goons. Joseph decides to get up and attack Sion himself, but Sion defends himself with the extinguisher and drops it on Joseph's foot, making him scream in pain. Sion slowly approaches Joseph's body and says, "I hear a strange noise. It seems that the metatarsal bones above your uniform are really broken. Apparently, you won't be able to walk anymore, huh?" Joseph, desperate and with his foot shattered and bleeding, asks, "Why are you doing this to me?" Sion removes his hood and says, "The 3 principles imprinted on the children. First, the parents' words are absolute." He punches Joseph in the face and continues, "Second, without the parents' permission, you must not use all your power." Joseph's goons were completely confused by what Sion was saying. Sion grabs Joseph, whose face was already battered, and says, "And most importantly, the third." Joseph was already begging for his life, apologizing. Sion grabs Joseph's pinky finger and says, "If your parents' safety is threatened, ignore the 2 principles above to resolve the situation." He then breaks Joseph's pinky and says, "Hyunho's mother said his friends are like like her children. That means you threaten my mother, and that means I'm going to crush you here and now. I think you understand very well what I'm talking about, right? Sion starts kicking Joseph in the face. The scene shifts to the place where the priest and the nun are. The priest says, yes, come in. The nun says, Director, there's a call from Korea. The man says, Korea? But who is it? The nun responds, it's the White Tiger Task Force. The man says, so it's them, huh? Hand me the phone now. The director answers the call and says, yes, this is the director speaking. The guys on the other end of the line respond, well, I think we've found what you've been looking for all this time. Weren't you specifically looking for the lost legend of the Dead Mansion? That person with the codename Sean is in Korea. He was raised in the Dead Mansion with special training, a multi-purpose weapon, a project called Good Child, Code Sean, of the children made by the Dead Mansion. He was the best of all, with skills and weapons and assassination to end everything. He was truly a product on a completely different level in every way. If that's the case, he should have been sent to the Yakuza family, which is one of our main clients. But there was a delivery error, and he was sent to Korea instead of Japan. It's been over 5 years since this happened, and I had given up on him, thinking he was dead. The man starts to get very happy and thanks God, saying that God returned the boy to him. The director then orders the nun to find the boy, no matter what it takes. The nun's name is Rachel. She removes the cloth from her head and says, well, I will find him and immediately begin the collection process. If something goes wrong, I will bring him by force. The director responds, bring him back without hurting him too much. And also, leave your weapon here. It won't pass through customs. The scene then shifts to the restaurant owned by the mother of the boy Joseph beat up. Sitting in front of her is Joseph's father. He introduces himself, bows to her, and says, I have no excuses for you. It's my fault for not raising my son properly. I promise to cover the cost of Hyunho's treatment and his mental care as well, and anything else you request. Rest assured, I am at your disposal. The woman responds, nothing will change even if you do all that, because it's not something that will be fixed with a simple apology. The man, with a psychopathic look, says, Hyunho's mother, I believe efficiency is the most important thing in everything we do. Since you have no intention of negotiating, I have no reason to waste my time here. I have many other options I can use. Besides, it's my specialty. The scene changes again. Joseph's father is already in the car, speeding away, and says, my nose is still burning from the dust in that establishment. How can she do business in that place? Just tear it down and build a new building. He then asks, what's the condition of the child? Have you taken care of it? The driver responds, yes, the assistant is handling it. He should be done by now. Joseph's father tells the driver, then call him. The driver just nods. The scene shifts to Joseph, who is completely beaten up in bed, and he says, that damn bastard. I knew there was something wrong with him. He kept babbling about some crap about 3 principles that were engraved in him. The man then says, 3 principles. Well, it's something among children these days. He asks Joseph why he was talking about those things so suddenly. Joseph's father says, hold on, boy, just wait a moment. Miss, could you please leave us alone for a moment? I assure you, it will be very quick. The woman leaves, and Joseph calls his father a bastard. The man slaps Joseph in the face and says, Joseph, do you know why I'm angrier? I don't care if you're oppressing kids or what led you to leave the classroom. I really don't care about any of that. But if you went to their house to finish things, you should have handled everything cleanly. The basic rule of work is not to do the same thing twice. Joseph, you should take this opportunity to learn properly. This is how adults handle things. The scene then shows Sion being beaten by 3 guys. Sion asks what they are going to do by holding him like that and hitting him so hard. One of the men slaps his face and responds, it's not going as planned, right? Like when you beat up 4 kids your age. But nothing works the same way among adults. And the young master ended up crippled because of you. Maybe you should be crippled too. Don't you think it would be fair? But have you repented yet? The man then twists Sion's arm and brutally stomps on it, breaking his shoulder and arm. He says, this is how adults handle things. Kid, never forget that. The scene changes to a bit later, with Sion trying to fix his arm. He says, what a crappy lecture. Does he think I'm some kid for him to lecture me? He doesn't even know the difference between a broken bone and a dislocated joint. Something like this doesn't even come close to Rachel's punishments. He thinks, besides, the things that are happening are a problem. I can't use my full strength without a command due to the 3 principles. Well, this should be enough to calm things down. If not, I'll have to get a new identity. However, that's also a problem. Suddenly, Hyunho's mother appears and says, hey, aren't you Sion? I'm sure it's you. But why are you in this situation? Sion says, hello. He thinks, my God, more trouble ahead. He goes to her restaurant to eat a bit. She says, Sion, you don't need to be polite. I'm fine. I promise, so eat a lot. Sion opens his eyes and says, I received the command, eat a lot. As expected, I think of Hyunho's mother as my own parent, so her words were in order. He starts eating a lot. it. She tells him to eat slowly, as he might choke with so much food, and asks him to drink some water. He understands the command and starts drinking a lot of water, finishing a bottle in seconds. After eating a lot and getting a huge belly, he thanks her for the food. She says, "I'm so happy to see you like this." He asks, "Is Hyunho getting better?" She responds, "Hyunho? Yes, of course. He's getting better. The doctor said the surgery went very well. We just need to keep an eye on him. You know how resilient our Hyunho is, right? Even though he's going through tough times now, he will overcome them," says Hyunho's mother. But the image shows Hyunho completely battered, full of medical equipment attached to his body, and still in a coma. Suddenly, Hyunho's mother starts crying profusely and says, "But even so, it seems like I can't do anything to help him. I feel so useless for not being able to do anything while my son is in this state. I really just want to destroy everything and tear that boy's father to pieces." After venting, she apologizes to Seon. "I'm really sorry. I know it shouldn't be this way." However, when she turns around, Seon had already disappeared. She had given him an indirect order. The scene shifts to a building where Joseph's father is speaking. "You all worked hard. Our Byung-woo constructions are here thanks to all your efforts. We mustn't falter, even though the parent company Jiang Constructions has failed." Suddenly, a waiter appears and asks if he wants wine. The man responds yes, and the waiter smashes the bottle over his head. The waiter was actually Seon. Other men appear, asking what's wrong with that damn kid. They try to hit Seon with punches, but he attacks them with 2 glasses, breaking them in one guy's hand. "You know how to run well, huh?" the man says, noticing the glasses in his hand. Seon then kicks him in the face, shattering the glasses. He grabs several forks and knives, attacking the other men. From a distance, others ask about the noise and call for the lights to be turned on. When the lights come on, they see several bodies on the floor and ask where the blonde kid is. Joseph's father observes everything and wonders how a blonde-haired child could have done that. Seon is hiding under the tables, repeating to himself the 3 principles of the dead mansion. First principle, the words of the parents are absolute. With a bread knife, he starts attacking everyone. Seon remembers Hyunho's mother saying, "With all the pain I'm feeling, I wanted to tear that bastard's father to pieces." Seon says, "Well, she said she wanted them all shredded, so that's what I'll do." He throws a cloth at the goons and kicks a table towards them. Suddenly, an object whizzes past Seon's face, hitting one of the goons next to him. The man who had beaten Seon appears and says, "Oh my, avoiding this isn't so bad, but I'm sure I broke your arm, didn't I? Well, whatever. This time I won't fail." They start fighting, and Seon lands a punch on the guy, trapping his arm and saying, "Watch closely, this is how you break an arm." He breaks the man's arm with ease. Suddenly, someone shoots at Seon from behind, grazing his face. When he turns around, he sees it was Joseph's father who shot. The man says, "Oh, it's really harder to aim than I thought." Seon responds, "It will be very difficult for you to shoot from this distance if you're not a professional." The man replies, "Oh, really? You seem to know a lot about this. Are you the professional, kid? I've heard that in Korea kids do these crew things or something. Are you part of that too?" Seon responds, "Crew? Well, I don't know about that, but if you ask who I'm affiliated with, I'm affiliated with the snack shop." The man says, "Hyunho and the snack shop. Are you talking about that cheap diner in that stinky alley? Finally, I have you in my hands. So answer me one thing. What did that woman say? Did she ask you to kill me or something?" asks Joseph's father. Seon responds, "No, she told me to tear you into pieces." The man, surprised, says, "What are you talking about?" With absurd speed, Seon disarms him and then delivers a powerful blow to his face. Joseph's father grabs onto Seon to avoid falling and says, "You damn bastard. This is their revenge, huh?" Seon responds, "Well, this isn't something like revenge or repayment." He then delivers a punch so powerful that his hand sinks into the man's face, saying, "First principle, the command of your parents is absolute." With that punch, Joseph's father is left completely broken on the ground. Seon thinks, efficiency is the most important thing when working, and you can't do the same thing twice. Joseph's father, all bloodied, says, "I knew it. You and that woman. I should have taken care of him. Next time, I'll kill all of you." Seon picks up a gun from the floor and says, "Why are you saying useless things?" he says. Third principle, when there's a possibility that your parents are in danger, you're allowed to break the other rules. He then shoots the chandelier above the man, causing it to fall and crush him into pieces. Seon, with his back turned and shirtless, showing a tattoo on his back, says, "Like father, like son." The scene shifts to Joseph's hospital room, and a nurse asks, "Dear patient, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere?" Joseph, irritated, says, "Isn't that your job? And can't you see that? Or am I an idiot?" The nurse replies, "They say school violence is very scary these days. This is the first time I've seen it up close. I think the guy who beat you is really good at fighting, right? Because this is just too much." The nurse stands up with a syringe and says, "You know what your father was talking about before, the 3 principles. I noticed you mentioned something like that." She then injects the medication into Joseph's Roman 4 bag, and he asks, "Wait, what medication is that? The color looks very different." The nurse replies, "Oh, this? Well, you don't need to worry. Rest assured you won't die if I use only half." She then removes her mask and wig, revealing herself to be Rachel. Her specialties are disguise, interrogation, and torture. And so we conclude another part of this incredible story. If you enjoyed it and want to see the continuation, don't forget to leave a like and comment. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any new videos. Share with your friends so they can also follow this saga full of emotion and action. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Thanks.